Beautiful, beautiful morning. And of course, the Citi band is catching some love on Facebook. Those who are watching us live on Facebook, sending so much love to the Citi band. Theophilia Ayeke says the Citi band to the world, watching live from New York. Kuja Semper Furniture Work says, we thank God for this morning. And this one says Jade TV, watching from Monrovia, Liberia. Of course, the show is interactive, and so you can join us via the WhatsApp number 0550-585832, or you can just drop a comment on that Facebook live feed. Good morning to you, Apioko.
Good morning, Nana.
How are you doing?
I was okay, but now I'm great because you showed up this
morning.
Oh, come
on. You're not going to do me like this morning. Come on.
You showed up this morning.
But you look good yourself. Come on.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
I mean, it's the earrings for me.
Oh, it's the earrings for you? Yeah. So literally I can take them out of my ears and comb my hair.
All right.
But this is a really exciting morning for me. So we're
Definitely
about to speak to a lady who has put Ghanaian film on the map.
Yeah.
And what excites me about her story is that, a lot of the time, and that's great too, you see people who are born elsewhere, grew up elsewhere, had opportunities elsewhere, and then, they catapulted to great heights.
Exactly.
But she started from Ghana
Right.
and started very young, was more or less a prodigy.
Yeah.
And now she's just giving it all to the world, spilling it all over the place, and we're loving to see it. So I have the singular honor of introducing Leila Djansi. She is a BAFTA, and I'll tell you what that is shortly, or maybe she can tell us, an LA award-winning producer, director, screenwriter. I mean, everything film she is, and she's done. Good morning, Leila.
Good morning.
You're
As you can tell, I'm really
It's
excited
the earrings
to see
for
it.
me.
It's the earrings.
You can see them, right?
Oh yeah, like I
Lovely
was looking for a comb this morning for my hair, so now I feel if I had that,
Right.
my problems would be solved.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're great. We're so happy to have you on the show
I'm
today.
excited to be here.
Great stuff.
I think it's the first time we're meeting, right?
Yes.
We talk like
all
we
the
hang
time
out on
social media,
Yeah.
comment on each other's posts, fight
Yes.
people together, but actually meeting in person.
It's the
this
first.
is the
I
very
am so
first time.
honored. I am so excited. Like this is a champion for women's rights.
I know.
Oh my
Listen,
goodness.
You wouldn't want to take her on when it comes to women's rights. I mean, you wouldn't want to do that.
I have seen her go to war for women.
It's like a suicide mission if you come on here.
But it is good to see you, my sister. Good to see you. And let's just talk about you. I mean, a lot of people see you now. A lot of women, they want to be you.
Yeah.
They want to go to the places that you've walked, worked with the people that you've worked with, but they don't necessarily know how you began. At 19,
Yeah.
your first screenplay was turned into a movie. You're more or less a prodigy when it comes to film and the arts.
Yeah.
And you didn't even want to be a filmmaker.
Nope.
I've read in the beginning, you want to be a gynecologist and then a
Yeah.
forensic scientist. So how did that all begin?
Well, my mom was a huge influence in multiple ways because we grew up in a hospital because she was a midwife, and then she became a diabetic nurse. So we practically grew up in a hospital, and I think they wanted to be a gynecologist started from there because I saw all the doctors are like, oh, they look nice. So I think it started from there, and then I got into Nancy Drew. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be a gynecologist. I think I want to be a detective.
Nancy Drew was a good,
She was a
role
good
model
one
for us.
Yes.
She was. Yeah.
Yes. So, but then dissection, so I went to do science, but then the classes were killing me.
So you actually studied science.
I did in Maoli school, but then I didn't have a head for the science subjects. They just, English, I'd be like, yes, okay, like writing stories for literature class. Those were great, but then the science, biology was okay, but physics and chemistry, forget it. It was not happening.
Definitely not your thing.
No. But I persevered because my dad was a pilot. He was an engineer. And so he was like, how do I have a daughter who doesn't know math? So, long story short, I run into a Ghanaian actor. And he was like, what do you do for fun? I said, I write scripts. He said, okay, bring a script. I think he was like, yeah, sure.
Write scripts for fun.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, which actor was this?
It was Sam O'Doy. He died a couple of
Yeah.
years
Yeah.
ago. I don't think I ever said thank you to him. I don't think I went back to look for him. So when I heard he died, facepalm, I was so embarrassed that because I don't think he really understood the door he opened for me.
you, yeah.
Right? Yeah, that was, maybe I'll just look for his kids or his family
Yeah.
or
Right.
something. Yeah. Because I don't think I ever did. And so running into him, and he said, okay, bring the script. So I sent the script I was doodling. He said, in a week it was made into a film. I'm like, okay, this is prophetic. So I went ahead on the path of film, and today I'm sitting with you.
So this first film was Babina.
Yes.
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 I mean, and you got to work for the very first time with some big names.
Yeah, Kalsum Sinari. I would never
Was that your
forget
first
her.
film? Your first
I know.
film
Wow.
features
I
Kalsum Sinari.
would never forget her. We went to the production meeting in some part of Accra. I didn't live in Accra per se, so I really don't know Accra. But we went somewhere. We were sitting in a really big circle, and she walked in, and she looked like sunlight.
She
I
still
would
does.
never forget that. She looked like this big
Yeah.
ball of sun. Like, okay. It was overwhelming, like just experiencing her. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing.
So how
amazing.
did you, I mean, so you started this at 19. Had you finished high school by then?
Oh yeah, I had finished high school.
So
It
how-
was, between high school and
Yeah.
your results, it was within
So
that
at least you were
time.
making use of the time.
Oh
good
yeah,
use of
oh
the
yeah,
time.
I was.
So this is before you went to NAFTI.
I did not go to NAFTI. I
at
got the
all.
admission at the same time that I got a scholarship to leave
So you,
Ghana.
so you
I
just
like,
left. You didn't even start.
no.
Said goodbye to the motherland.
So let's talk about the scholarship. How did you come across it? Because this isn't, we're talking about the early 2000s.
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah,
did you have to go to an
1999,
internet cafe?
2000.
I mean, it's not
yes.
this age where somebody's sending you something on WhatsApp.
No,
You
no,
just
no,
open
no,
it up
no,
on
no,
your
no.
phone.
I would sell ice cream,
Okay.
gather my coins, and go to the cafe.
Wow.
Yeah, my uncle was teaching in Canada by then, so he would send me a bunch of scholarships that are open for
Okay.
application. So I would go to the cafe and then apply.
Right.
And so I wasn't really getting, I got one, but I wasn't, there was just something, like when it's not your time.
Yeah.
It's not your time. Like
Yeah.
if you're in tune, I guess, with God, and it's not your time, He holds you back, right?
Right.
So it wasn't my time. So I just, focused on, that's when I started working with Movie Africa, because my dad was like, why don't you practice and see whether this is really where you want to be?
I was going to ask about that, if your folks were okay with you going into film.
Oh yeah, my parents have always been supportive.
Right.
My family lived in India. We lived in, so it was Bollywood. So my mom especially would walk off to the film sets and experience the film sets. So for
Okay.
my mom, when I got into film, she was most excited because to teach us how to cook, she would tell us stories while she's cooking.
Right.
So to hear the end of the story, you got to cook with her again the next day. That's why I can cook.
That's smart. That's smart. Smart.
Yeah,
woman.
she
Yeah.
introduced us very early to Aesop fables, Shakespeare, really difficult stories, Bible stories. She was a Sunday school teacher, so
Oh, okay.
those were the kind of stories we grew up on.
Do you reckon that it's the exposure that your parents had, because your dad was a pilot, your mom was a medical practitioner? At some point, you, like you said, you were in India. I'm guessing one of them,
yeah, they
their
were
work took them
huge,
there.
Yeah. Yes, my
Do you-
dad's work.
Okay, so his work as a pilot took him
Yes.
there. Do you reckon that is the exposure that allowed them to see what you were doing as something laudable? Because a lot of Ghanaian parents wouldn't.
Oh, I think it definitely played a major role. My dad was a little resistant because we were all girls. And I think, in African society, when you have a girl, not right now when it's, good to have a girl, but like even in the 80s, probably even in the 90s, having a girl, what am I even saying 80s, 90s? Just about 5 years ago, I was in a hair salon in Hull. And my cousin is married to my childhood friend, or my sister's childhood friend. They're both doctors. And she had a baby. She had 3 girls already. she had 2 girls. So she had another girl. So someone came in and said, "Oh, did doctor have the baby yet?" And another person, they didn't know that was my family they were talking about. So, and someone said, "Oh yeah, doctor had another girl." They were like, "Oh,
wow.
Why didn't she have a boy?"
See?
Wow.
Yeah.
This was barely 5 years ago.
Yeah. So in the 80s, your parents had how many girls?
We were, 2 girls, but then, my dad was looking for boys, so he got 2 more girls. So for my dad were 5 girls, all born on Friday.
5 girls.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah, God was like, dude,
so
I'm going to show you how this works.
So who's the Afwaga and who's the Afwabi?
I know, right? But I'm the favorite Afwa of the family.
Right.
But I mean, kudos to your parents. But let's talk. So you went to school. Was this your first time in the Western?
It was my
part of
first
the
time
world?
in America. Yes, it definitely was, and I went in the winter in Savannah, Georgia.
What?
Right.
It was hot. It was. I mean, when you go to America and you go to New York, your experience is different. You go to Atlanta, your experience is different. You go to Los Angeles, it's different. I went to Savannah, Georgia.
And that was the first stop.
Oh my goodness. This is the most historic city in America, the center of the slave trade, center of the Civil War. You have African Americans living in Savannah who've never been outside Savannah. So you walk in thinking, okay, oh, these are black people who look like me. No, that's where it ends.
Right.
So trying to foster relationships with people who have no idea your experience, and you also, you judge them, right? Because we had a British experience.
Yeah.
So we were educated, or we are educated, we are exposed. Colonization did to us something different than slavery did
That's
to,
very true.
our brothers and sisters over there. So that disparity, that lack of understanding, it was a huge culture shock for me.
Right.
And they found me arrogant. They called me white, and I looked at them like,
I just came from Africa.
But perhaps they are colorblind.
I know, right? Like, you end your sentences with ing. Like, why are you trying to be white?
Okay.
Wow, it was an experience. I mean, Savannah was an education. The school was an education. Living in Savannah was an education. But it was a good one.
So you went there to study film, to become, or to add some professionalism to what you had already learned in Ghana. In terms of the 2 different terrains for film, what was that like?
One thing that I would say for the Ghanaian experience that I had was, I'm not trying to knock anybody or on the industry, but I knew there was something wrong. I knew there was more. Like, you write a script and the director would say, "Oh, let's just sit here on the stairs and film this scene." And then let's sit and like, wait, the scenes are placed there for a purpose. Like, where the scene takes place is important. You cannot just shoot it on the stairs or shoot it anywhere, or let's just do it in the car. So I knew there was something wrong, but I wasn't sure. Who am I, right? So getting to Savannah, I got into film school. I was intimidated. For the first year, I was the only black person, and I was from Africa, and I had an accent.
And you're a woman.
And I'm a woman. And I remember one of my friends, Chloe, she's now one of my very good friends. Chloe was like, "So do you guys have cameras in Africa?" And I'm like, yeah. So my professor, Michael Cheney, never forget him, he noticed my struggle with the students in where I was from. So he came to class one day and said, "I'm going to show you a film of one of the greatest filmmakers who ever lived." And he showed films of Ousmane Sembene.
Okay.
He supported me.
Right.
Because people did not know about African filmmakers at that time. And Sembene was doing amazing work. His cinematography, his directing, his auteur, his authorship, it was amazing. So bringing that film to class, people started looking at me different. Like, okay, put some respect on it. So that helped. That helped. And then one thing that the school did that I really appreciate more now is you don't just jump into holding cameras.
Right.
You start with drawing and sculpture and installation. So you start with the rudiments of art. You take like Western philosophy classes. You know, you're taking aesthetic classes, appreciating. They could put this carpet, they could bring a carpet like this to class and say, appreciate it. Write about this carpet. Now you have to write about the depth, the hues, you know, how the fringes, the directions in which they go. You need to write a whole article, 1,500 words about a carpet. Like, are you people serious right now? You know, go to, we had nude models, we painted nude forms. And it was very interesting.
Right.
And initially I did not get it, like, Mile Fudelo.
Yeah, but today you look back at all that and
Yes, today when I get on set and my DP's like, what lens? I can turn around and say an 85, right? Because now you don't have to put the 85 on the camera for me to know what an 85 is going to look like, right? So I can just say, okay, put an 85 on Apioco right now, and I know what I'm talking about.
Right.
So it helped a lot.
Amazing.
That's brilliant. So, Annie, you've won awards from all over the world.
Amen.
There's Ghana, there's Ghana, there's the US, and then you go and win a BAFTA award. And this is a British Film Academy. You know, how did that happen?
You know, it's one of those things that, you know, I was on Nashoka's show yesterday, and I said, sometimes when you see only one footprint in the sand, it's because someone is carrying you, right? And for that, it was one of those things. I was not even going to go to the festival. I was hurting about, because a lot of things happened with that film, I Single for Well. Like, I Single for Well was like one of my favorite stories to tell. But then, you know, can two work together except they agree? So there were a lot of problems with that, you know, the making of that film. So I was not even going to go to the festival. I was in my house and I was sleeping, and I get a call from the head of the BAFTA, like, we've seen your film and we want you to come. We want to honor you. I'm like, I'm not going.
So you didn't even enter the film into any competition, no submission.
No submission.
Somebody saw it and said, this film deserves an award.
Yes, and they called and I said, initially I said, I'm not going to go. I'm okay. I was like, you're going.
Okay.
I said, okay. So I went. I actually did not understand. I walked in and the first person I see is Charles Burnett. Charles Burnett is in.
It's a film royalty.
I kid you not. I'm like, what are these people doing here? And that happened.
What was it like? What was the feeling like for you?
I think I was crying throughout because it was overwhelming. But then I look back and I know that was just God comforting me for everything, you know, because the film won a lot of awards. I didn't see any of them. And then it felt like God was like, I was saving the best for you.
Right.
You know, and so we kind of, pretty much, I think that's what that was.
What were the challenges? Was it the people you're working with? Was it the institutions within which you had produced the film? What were the problems?
You know, one of the things that we don't have in Ghana, and again, I said this again yesterday, that Ghana film industry thrives on ego in a negative way.
Okay.
So one thing that people send me a lot of messages. If you send me a message, usually, and you're a filmmaker and you send me a message, usually I'm going to go on your social media just to see the kind of person you are. Right. Once I see you do the best, I'm done. I'm not even going to associate with you in any way, because people who heap praise upon themselves, it just becomes a problem, you know, and you don't want, because look, when you make a film, you're not making a film by yourself. You're surrounded by so many people, and everybody contributed their art, everybody contributed their passion, so you cannot walk away and take credit for yourself. It's teamwork, right? So, I mean, even if you conceptualize the whole thing, it's still not you. Somebody gave you that idea, you know? So with I Think of a Well, it was interests not being aligned, right? Somebody wanted something different and somebody wanted something different. So where your interests are not aligned, if the both of you're going to make a film and it's not about the film, and it's about two individuals, it's always going to be a problem.
Right.
It always has to be about the film. That's it. Nothing else matters. But once you don't have that understanding, then it becomes a problem.
So what? There was a compromise at the end of the day.
I think everybody just walked away.
Like, we're done with this.
So how come we have such a beautiful film?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Art is life. You could try to bury it, it will still rise on its own. So, you know, that's why some artists, when, you know, like Cosby, no matter, I mean, he's evil guy, completely evil guy. But look, I still think his art stands,
So
no matter what.
I mean, same with R. Kelly, right?
Well, as for him, I don't know. Like for him, I don't think
you
I
haven't
even
reached
really
there
like.
yet.
I've not reached there yet.
haven't
No,
reached
for him, no. I'm still working my way up.
But we have the trailer for I Sing of a Well. Let's take a look at it and we'll be right back.
Father of kings, you of royal destiny, royal one.
What makes one king? Is it not blood?
I am not royalty. I'm a hunter. Come with me to the palace.
To the palace?
Come.
Soraya, follow your heart.
You will never have her.
I will gladly give you the throne on one condition.
I'm listening.
Save this kingdom from slave raiders.
I only speak what I see. I only speak what I see.
This is the time to pick a sword and run it through that idiotic Minambi's heart.
You dead coal. You breathe fire from your mouth, but your deeds are worthless. Mansa Musa is building a fortress of a palace. He'll come for men each month. Act now, or your kingdom will be empty.
You have done yours. Let me do my part.
Beautiful.
I should cut to that trailer over again.
You're seeing all the mistakes.
beautiful.
Typical artist.
goodness.
Such a typical artist.
Anytime I watch, I'm like, we need to recut that trailer.
Such a typical artist.
Yeah.
But beautiful nonetheless. Beautiful
you.
nonetheless. And let's talk about how you incorporate your heritage into everything you do. The ever side of you, it follows you everywhere you go. How do you make that conscious effort, and how do you get it to manifest itself, you know, throughout your career and your life, really?
You know, someone said, I don't know who said it, but there's a quote out there, and I'm going to distort it, but writers or artists, you always leave a piece of yourself with your art. And for me, one of the most important things about being an artist is about being a true artist, being an honest, being a very, very honest artist where I am not manipulating, the work. So for me, it's always organic because I'm speaking every day. Like I literally speak all the time. I send videos to my friends and it's in every, and they don't speak every. They're like, I'm lost.
What are you talking about?
But so it's part of me. It's who I am. That's my identity. So separating myself from it, it's hard because that's who I am. Yeah. And I think it works out for me like that. Yeah.
A lot of people feel as though they have to sort of compromise on who they are to make it on the international stage. What's your take on that?
I kind of see where they're coming from because, for example, before COVID, I was packaging a film and the investors, I was speaking to a couple of investors, and then I went to the investor who would have.
Okay.
And she said, your lead is black. So my attorney also is kind of like my dad. So I called her like, oh my God, she said my lead is black. And I think there was a point where he asked me, would you consider changing the race of your lead? I thought about it and I thought about it. I think I spoke to a couple of other friends about it. But I didn't feel right. It didn't feel right. So of course I didn't get the funding for the film, right? Because my lead is black and my lead is going to stay black. Because the story is about a black woman. We did a lot of meetings. There was a meeting that we took where they didn't want to say it, but they were like, because she was in an interracial marriage. So the lead was black, her husband is white. And so they were like, what if the husband did this? So pretty much what they were telling me was the husband should become the lead. And then the black woman goes back down. I was not having it. I didn't get the film financed, but when it's time for it to get financed, it will get financed. So
definitely.
I'm not too worried about that. I just moved on to another project, But I see how you would be forced to make compromises, It's subjective. If like my uncle is a pastor, and he always tells me, like I wrote an LGBTQ script that I really, really loved, and I gave it to my uncle. I'm like, should I make this? And he said, if your conscience doesn't condemn you, make
Why
it.
not?
So that's what I also say right back to people who are caught in that dilemma. If your conscience doesn't condemn you,
go ahead with it. Right. Is it deliberate? Do you deliberately seek to push the cause of women in your movies?
Yes. Well, yes, and then also growing up in a home with lots of women and a woman as strong as my mom, you have no choice.
It comes with it.
You are like the feminism is born inside you. You come out with it holding a flag. So nice. It's you have no choice.
So let's women, yes, but let's also talk about, just stay on the LGBTQI plus conversation a little.
We're about to get stoned.
But way back before it became a conversation like it is today, you are involved in the film Sisterhood, Sisterhood.
Yes.
And you're one of the people who got to work with the celebrated Susie Williams of blessed memory, who was one of the stars of that film. What made you work on that piece?
It was Socrates Sappho. He brought me the script. He brought me the story, and I was supposed to do the screenplay. And honestly, at that time, I had no idea what LGBT was. Like, I did not even know. Going to school, you heard, there's a school in Ho.
And all
that. Yes. There was this girl. We had stories about the girl, but there were stories. So making that film, writing that script, he actually helped me because I had no idea. So I was writing the script. He was like, okay, this is how this happens. This is how that happens. I actually had no idea about LGBT until I got to Savannah. And then my human resource director at where I worked, I thought he liked me. Because he was always taking me to the movies, hanging out with me, you know, giving me more hours. I'm like, ooh, he likes me. But one thing that was odd, when we would go out, he'd be checking out guys. Ooh, look at them legs. Like, what is wrong with this man? It never made sense. And then I was chatting with my friends. You know, we Best Western Hotel, we're chatting. I'm like, I thought Mike liked me, but he's always checking out guys. And they started screaming and laughing at me. They're like, Mike is gay. I'm like, what is gay? I had no idea. And that stuck. You know, he knew I was a student. He knew, of course, money was tight, you know, always shooting assignments. He would say, oh, shoot in one of the hotel rooms. Oh, shoot on the premises. He always helped me out. You know, so that was my first introduction to someone who was LGBT. So I don't come to that culture with judgment, because of the experience I had.
Because there's a member of that community who was good to you.
Exactly.
When you needed it the
exactly. Most. So it's very hard for me to say, oh, let's kill all of them. No, I can't. I cannot honestly. I mean, I have friends, like when Little Doris happened, my friend, she was in Switzerland. She hosted a huge party, raised money, and she was lesbian. You know, so it's very hard to just condemn and not understand, you know, because I believe all human rights deserves going a distance for. So that's why I stand.
That's an interesting perspective. Very interesting perspective. But let's come to the present. One of the reasons you're in Ghana, one of the things you've been doing is promoting the Oscars. How did we get here? I've seen you've spoken about your recognition in Britain. We haven't even got into the LA Film Festival, which of course doesn't exist anymore, but in its prime, you were winning awards there, you were featuring there. You've traveled to other parts of Europe. Now the Oscars, you know, everybody looks to the Oscars.
Yes.
For music
Holy
is the
Grail.
Grammys, and for film is the
Is
Oscars.
the Oscars.
How did you get involved in this?
So one of the ways that I felt I could give back to Ghana and to the film industry was to not necessarily say a Ghanaian film should win the Oscars, but to elevate the style of filmmaking. And what better yardstick than the Oscars, right? So when the Oscars were calling for countries to submit committees that would oversee submissions and selections, I said, why not Ghana, right? So I reached out to the Academy and said, okay, I think Ghana is primed and ready. I think we should have a committee and we should be able to submit. And they approved the committee that we sent to them. That was in 2017. And
all the way back then?
Yeah, but the first submission was in 2018. No, actually 2019. 2018, we didn't get one. 2019, we got one. 2020, Mr. COVID
Of course.
showed up.
Yes.
Yeah. So we've been able to submit one, which was Azali in 2019. Yeah, and so submissions are open right now, where if you have a film that's in a local language, 70% local language, Pidgin English is now accepted as a local language. So you could also send that if you made a film and it's in French, but you are Ghanaian. You got to be Ghanaian. The top 3 people, writer, director, producer, they have to be Ghanaian. The film financing has to be Ghanaian, has to be homegrown. Right. Then you should submit.
Right. Is this a special category that's been created?
Yes, it's not special for Ghana, but it's a category that has always existed within. So it's the international film category. Yeah. So we used to be called a foreign language. Right. Yeah.
So now the Oscars is just allowing Africans to also have.
They've always
their film.
allowed. I mean,
we just didn't see it.
Oh, Choti, you remember Choti from South Africa? It
Choti,
won.
That's right.
And one of my favorite films, Yesterday, didn't win, but it was submitted. Yellow Card from Kenya. Ethiopia, they keep sending films. I think, Oh, a lot of African countries have submitted, and some have got up to Atlantic, Senegal. Yeah. So there have been African films, Kati Kati from Kenya. Lots of African countries have submitted. Like, you know, so.
But why do you think Ghanaians haven't been submitting as much?
I think the problem is twofold. Ghana is small. And we are very, very ethnocentric. Right? I'm Ewe, I'm Ashanti, I'm Ga, small pockets. Right? I always argue with my Ashantis, why don't you speak Ewe? You know what I mean? Like, I try to speak yours.
Yeah.
You got to speak mine. The same with Ga, Hausa. You know, if we could unite in language, right, where everybody speaks a little bit of each other's language, then distribution becomes easy. Because I could make an authentic film in Hausa, and somebody in Takoradi will watch it and enjoy it, right? But if you don't make the film in English, your market becomes very, very narrow, right? And here's the case: when you make the film in English, the nuances are lost.
Of course.
Not because English is not our first language, but I think, look, I'm going to be honest and say most of our actors are not trained. Right? So you give them certain lines in English, and when you hear them say it, doesn't feel right. It's not delivered because they do not understand the nuance behind the sentence. Because when someone writes a script and gives you a script, it's not about the words you're reading, it's about the subtext. What's the meta? Right? But most of our actors do not understand. It's like, did you slap me? You know?
Oh boy.
Wow.
It kind of boils down to that most of the time. So the authenticity is not there. So you watch the film and it's very antiseptic. You know, so it doesn't go anywhere. But you watch that same film. Because I remember on set of Northern Affair, we cast this guy, and he was supposed to say, you fell in love with her, didn't you? We did that take 20 times. He just could not, the inflection, he couldn't get it. So I looked around, and my AD was like, take the role. So he ended up somewhat like the AD took the role, because he could speak English. He was a university graduate. He understood. Yeah, you know,
exactly
this guy.
What you wanted to portray.
You know, this is my best friend, and I'm
But
having
you're raising a very important point. That's not just about being able to speak or understand English, you know, in the raw sense, in the sense of semantics. But I mean, English majors will say the pragmatics of it, right? So if I say, please pass the salt, it's different from please pass the salt.
Exactly.
You know, that's a very important point.
Yes. And that is the problem with Ghanaian films. And you don't see that with Nigerian films, because Nigerians have character.
They will live it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Nigerians have so much character. But with us, I don't really know what it is. I honestly don't know what it is, whether it's arrogance or ego or lack of practice or disinterest, or sometimes I say it's because the whole project for them is a means to an end.
Right.
Not that the film, the work, walking onto set, that's an end in itself. Forget the red carpet. So what? You know, forget the awards. Those are accoutrements. It's not necessary right now. Walking on set, that is the end product.
But do you sincerely think that currently we have a movie that can make it to the Oscars? I'm asking because just about a year ago, you did say that there was no movie that there was no Ghanaian movie that could make it to the Oscars.
I mean, we've not received any submissions yet. I'm hopeful. I mean, we got Azali. I'm hoping we can get another Azali. You know. But again, with like for example, with Kwabena, if Netflix hadn't bought Azali, I honestly do not know how you would have made any money on that film. So until we solve the language problem, until we have television stations like Citi commissioning or paying healthy budgets to license content, where the filmmaker is not stranded with $2,000 to make a film, we've got a really long way to go.
We have some messages here. So on Facebook, Kojo Ajin says, I just love her movies. And then Rock Kofi, he's just saying, good morning to you all. Good morning to you, Kofi. You know, and someone says, I've been watching Leila Djansi's films since the early 2000s. I'm so happy to see what she's become. My name is Ifwa or Afwa too.
Okay.
Can Leila tell us about the brain behind 40 and single? Yeah, you know, what was that all about? What was that all about? So that's one, and then there's another one. So you can take the two. What was your issue with Wikipedia?
What's my...
So there are those two. So let's take 40 and single first. I mean, this year you're 41?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, 41 this year. And you're not married, are you?
No.
Do you have kids?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'm a secondary mom.
Okay.
But yeah.
You know, so I imagine that a lot of your own personal experiences, the road to 40, may have, and then those around you.
Not
really?
at all.
Interesting.
That's the interest. Like a lot of people see 40 and single like, oh, she's writing about herself. But I made 40 and single when I was 38.
Yeah.
So it had actually absolutely nothing to do with that. It more had to do with me reading lots of comments all over about women who are 40 and how, like, when a woman is 40, that's it. I'm like, are you sure? You know? But because I did not even feel alive until I hit 35. Like between 20 and 35, I was just waltzing
Figuring
through life.
yourself out.
I was still figuring myself out. When I hit 35, I'm like, okay, now I feel like I'm a human being. My brain is functioning better. You know, so I actually feel like I'm more of an adult. I'm now prepared. Because look, the stupid mistakes we made between, 25 and 35, if you gave me a pill to go back, I would make so many changes. But now I'm wise. I do things differently. I pick my battles better, But 40 and single had more to do with me exploring race, of course, LGBT, women turning 40, marriage, It actually started when a friend of mine came to me in LA to shop for bridal stuff. And she's like, oh, I have to make all these clothes, and the bridesmaids are buying their own stuff, and then the bride is demanding all this stuff, and then the things are so expensive. I'm like, so you shop for your friend's wedding to wear your, like, I don't understand how it works. I mean, I get going to David's bridal and buying a simple dress, but the bride gives you a list of what to buy.
Yes.
Is she giving you money? And it didn't make sense. So I heard the story of how girls do like really dark stuff to get money so they can be in a bridal party. Yeah. That actually is what inspired 40 and Single. That conversation we had is what inspired 40 and Single.
Right. Let's talk about Wikipedia now.
Somebody wrote on Wikipedia that I was dead.
Wow. Oh, okay.
I did see that.
Wow.
We caught it so quickly. One of my friends actually was messing with me, and so he saw it and said, wait, what is this? And I'm like, wait, I'm dead? Like, I pinched myself to make sure I was still alive. But yeah, somebody had gone on Wikipedia and changed my profile to dead.
Wow.
Yeah, but we, God is good, we caught it quickly, so.
But I mean, Wikipedia is a very open space, so people can go and if you have editing access and whatnot.
Yeah, it was weird. Like, I'm like, why would anybody do that even?
Yeah, what were they trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Have you seen any Ghanaian documentaries?
Right. Made by Ghanaian? I have to think about that. I mean, I've seen documentaries made by other people, but
Ghana.
I don't, about Ghana. Yeah, I just watched one recently. It's about cocoa farming and transporting bad roads and, that kind of stuff. But I don't think I've seen one made, I mean, apart from Anas's stuff. Yeah. I don't think I've seen a documentary made by a Ghanaian.
Interesting.
But there's a future for that, right? A future for Ghanaian documentaries made by Ghanaians.
Again, goes right back to the television stations, right? Where you could commission documentaries and, train the palate of the people and then develop that market. Right. But for somebody to go invest money in a documentary, that is not salacious,
Yeah.
that would be hard. But like the documentary that I watched, it was a French documentary about Ghana. I loved it because they had this funeral scene. You know, they started from like those, you know, the novelty caskets, you know, and then the corpse was sitting down. I found those things interesting. So for me, like I watch a lot of documentaries, so I enjoyed that. But you know, in Ghana, when Anas makes the documentaries, they're very controversial.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and concerning. So I think we all gravitate towards. But if it's educational, I really don't know whether there's a market for it.
Right.
Interesting.
We've got a number of female directors actually downstairs.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm excited.
We're heavy on female
We have
directors here at
about,
Citi.
I think about 8 directors, 7 of them are women.
Wow.
Yes.
Congratulations
As they're
to
actually
you guys.
interested in knowing, I mean, the future of filmmaking in Ghana from your perspective.
Wow. You know, if you farm tomatoes and there's no one to buy it, the tomatoes are going to sit with you and rot. So Ghana's challenge right now is distribution, because when distribution was moving to digital, our Opera Square grandfathers were not ready to change.
Yeah.
They were still creating monopolies and, you know, creating bully organizations, you know, and now that the DVD is extinct, they've moved elsewhere, you know, taking their pensions from there. And pretty much they're taking their pensions right now, so they've abandoned the industry. And digital has carved Ghana out where it's not a viable market.
Right.
So for me, for my sisters downstairs, what I would say is look beyond Ghana. Tell your stories here. Tell your stories about here. Tell them in authentic languages. But for your marketing, for now, look beyond Ghana.
Right.
Do what you have to do, so later you can do what you want to do. Right? So as you continue to look outside of Ghana for your market, so at least you can feed and then, you know, continue to nurture your dreams, gradually people would see, oh, okay, Ghanaian films are doing festivals, Ghanaian films are, you know, getting distribution outside. Okay, let's open up and start taking content from Ghana. So it's going to be a slow and painful process, but it will work out.
Sure. All right,
Yeah.
I like that. Great stuff, great stuff, great stuff. All right, any final words before you take leave of us?
Looking forward to seeing City Commission projects from my sisters downstairs.
Yeah. So we have a TV series running, The Hairdressers.
Okay.
So we did it in English, but it's very Ghanaian English. So even if you look at the subtitles, you realize that some of them are completely different because the subtitles had to be in you know, proper English. You know, but very Ghanaian, lots of Ghanaianism. So it's directed by Victor Adogbe, who is one of our directors. Financed by Citi. I mean, a dream of our CEO, Summers. He literally said, look, this is going to be an expensive venture, but let's do it. So it's on air now, first
that's
season.
Great. I'll look for it. I would.
Well,
And the
just
majority
about
of
on
the
the
cast
fifth episode,
is female as well.
Wow, well, a salon,
A
so
salon, so
yeah.
yeah, clearly.
Oh, that would be so exciting.
Yeah.
because there's a lot of drama that goes on in this.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So maybe
So while you're in Ghana, I mean, we're not distributing on any international channels yet, because we want to
it's
grow
homegrown
right?
for yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So while you're in Ghana, I'll send you all the information so that you can check it out.
I would love to. I would binge on it. Absolutely. I'm sure everybody in my house would love to see it.
Sure. All right, Leila, thank you so much for coming. I mean, it's been interesting. It's been insightful. We've learned so much. And yes, of course, now that the challenge has been thrown, we're all going to look beyond.
Now
and
we
of
cannot
course,
relent.
At all.
We cannot relent. But thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you
So
for
we've been
having
speaking
me.
to Leila Afua, right? Yeah. If it's ever, it has to be Afua.
Afua Mansa.
Afua Mansa. The third boy. So Leila Afua Mansa Djansi, filmmaker extraordinaire. She's a BAFTA LA winning film producer, film director, screenwriter, I mean, anything film,
She's
like
film.
I said, she's
Yeah.
walking film personified. And it's been such a pleasure to have her in
Yeah.
the studio this morning. Let's take a break, and when we come back, the show continues.